What's going on, everyone? About 52% of stocks in the S&P 500 closed down in the red today. It was a pretty mixed, choppy day in the market that was a little bit hard to trade. So in today's video, we're going to cover all of the most important stocks and information to know about heading into tomorrow to make it a good one. Looking at the market today, we have a handful of stocks starting to move in some pretty exciting ways, and we have some more earnings and economic events lined up for tomorrow. So besides that, Tom, let's not waste any time and let's jump right into it.
Yeah, today was a pretty flat day for the SPY. It did try to pop back up today, which I'm not too surprised of considering it was down 2% yesterday. A little bit of buyers tried to come back in, but towards the end of the day, of course, it comes down and tests support. Once again, it's almost like triple bottoming down here over the past couple days, and we'll be talking about that level in just a little while, so definitely stick around for that. But Mike, in the short term, there's been a pretty key stock that's been moving quite a bit, and we haven't mentioned it too much on the channel yet. That is AST Space Mobile, ticker symbol ASTS. This stock was up 12.48% today. It actually had a really big pop and a pretty big pullback, actually, towards the end of the day as well. And it's a very volatile stock. You can see that the average percent rise is 7% over the past year, and the average drop is almost 4%. So that is a pretty big deal, but they are pretty much launching some satellites here, Mike, and it's pretty awesome. They're actually working with Verizon and AT&T to beta test these satellites, but they're trying to bring mobile wireless connection to people through the use of satellites instead of using like a cell phone tower, for example. It almost reminds me of something like SpaceX, but nonetheless, this launch will be on September 12th, and I don't know, Mike, this stock has seen a lot of hype over the past couple weeks and months.
No doubt, and in situations like this, they definitely have that parabolic exponential potential, but like you said, they are volatile and crazy. So as we get closer and closer to this satellite launch event, make sure to keep this stock close on your radar because it will continue to move in big, crazy ways, and the opportunity in a situation like this is more so about riding the momentum rather than being like 100% bullish no matter what the situation is, if that makes sense. For example, when you look at ASTS over the past couple of months, it's easy to look at this stock and say, wow, this stock went from $3 a share all the way up to highs of like almost 40 in just a couple months. That is insane, and that's awesome. But that doesn't necessarily mean to, just be a perma bull, if that makes sense. The key opportunity in these situations is that when we know stocks are going to move in a crazy momentum-driven way, there's opportunities playing stocks like this one in both directions. So when there's a lot of bullish euphoria and momentum, there's a lot of opportunity to ride that trend higher, just like we've seen a lot over the past couple of weeks and months. But at the same time, when the trend slows down, it's important to pivot so you don't get ran over. But either way, definitely keep this stock close on watch over the next couple days.
Yeah, it's a big one here in the short term. There's been a couple of these stocks kind of coming out of the woodworks, Mike, like ASTS with a lot of momentum in the short term. LUMN has also had a lot of good momentum. That stock was even up quite a bit today as well, up 14% in its own right. So, we're seeing a couple of these stocks here starting to move in a pretty big way following some of the flatness/dips that they recently had. And, that news with ASTS, they're working with Verizon and AT&T. I was looking at AT&T stock a lot today, and, it's just insane to look at some of these telecommunication companies, Mike, and just to watch how much they've dipped over the past few years. It's kind of insane to look at.
No doubt. And when you talk about major dips, how can we not talk about Nvidia this week? Because that stock is the definition of it, as they fell by like over $300 billion just over the past couple of trading days. But Tom, this one had some what we'll call interesting updates today. So fill us in.
Man, I will say I was pretty upset when I read this, Mike, but it looks like, how Nvidia actually had some subpoenas yesterday, apparently? Well, now Nvidia is saying that they actually didn't receive any. So I'm curious here, Mike, what's going on, and I mean, everybody reported on that news yesterday. Like, we saw Bloomberg, Reuters, CNBC, Yahoo Finance. I mean, it was everywhere yesterday. So I don't know, Mike, somebody is either playing the big media companies or something, because I don't know. I thought it was interesting. And they said that they even inquired with the U.S. Department of Justice, and then that's how they kind of found out that they have not been subpoenaed for sure, right? So I don't know, Mike. It's a very interesting situation. Let us know in the comments what you guys feel about that. But we wanted to give you guys this update because at the end of the day, we don't want anybody thinking like, hey, that subpoena is going to be a bad deal, right? Whenever they're saying they haven't even gotten one now.
No doubt. And like the main thing is, as we look at Nvidia stock, when you are a company that has 80% of the data center AI chip market, whether you like it or not, you're going to have big government agencies, just like the United States right now, that start to look into you, right? It's inevitable. And even though we had this news with, let's say, Nvidia claiming to have not received the subpoena from the Department of Justice, the stock isn't really all that convincing. Like, even though this, what we'll call good news, came out, the stock still finished lower today. So, like, I think that says everything that has to be said. Even though we had, again, quote unquote good news, the market surely didn't treat it like it was good news.
Yeah, it definitely didn't. I mean, we're still down 1.66% on the day, maybe a little bit higher than the average percent drop, but it honestly just kind of moved like the SPY. It ran up a little bit this morning and then towards the end of the day started to push a little bit lower. And, that news actually came out yesterday, like right whenever the market closed. So I want people to realize that as well, because essentially it did come back and erase like the initial, drop from that subpoena news. But at the end of the day, of course, it still did end up red today, which is not a good sign. And I think that the main reason Nvidia dropping is, of course, not mainly from that subpoena news either. Like, I would attribute more of this drop to simply profit takers taking profits up at the top, and also, of course, the overall market playing a big role into this as well.
And even in earnings continuation, like the stock reported great earnings last week, but they clearly weren't good enough earnings to justify the extreme level of euphoria and just insane buying pressure that the stock has had over the past couple of years. So like you said, there's definitely a couple main factors. And when we look at Nvidia or Microsoft or Apple or even the market as a whole, what's really worth noting right now is that big tech stocks quite literally are running the show. So as we can see by looking at this data here, basically the top 10 stocks in the S&P 500 have basically a larger, heavier weighting right now than they have had throughout most of history. There were only two other years, which were 2023 and 2007, where the top 10 heaviest weighted stocks in the S&P 500 had more of a influence on the market as a whole. And there are multiple things to take away from this. The first thing being is that when you look at these other years, like 2007 or 2023 or 2020 or even 1999 or a handful of these other ones, these are all major pivotal years. So what it goes to show is that while it's awesome that the big tech stocks have been, blasting higher over the past couple of years and months, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, because just like in, let's say, 2007, in 1999, and even in 2020, there were some bumps in the road, we can say. And as we look a little bit deeper and we go specifically to the top 10 heaviest weighted stocks in the market right now, we can see some of the stocks that are at the top of this list are companies like Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Amazon, Meta, and others. So it's more important than almost ever before to keep an extremely close eye on these stocks, because the way in which these stocks move will have a direct, giant effect on the S&P 500 as a whole, and arguably even more important, it'll have a giant effect on market-wide sentiment.
Yeah, and that's a big thing for day traders as well, because, of course, whenever I'm trading throughout the day, Mike, I mean, I'm always flipping back to, like, Apple, Microsoft, Nvidia, Tesla, the bigger names out there, Google, and you're like, hey, if you can kind of gauge how these stocks are doing, it can kind of help you, maybe identify a better overall direction with the market, and it can definitely help you, with trading and stuff throughout the trading days as well. And, Mike, whenever I look at these big tech stocks right now, I'm seeing a pretty big recurring theme where we're seeing a lot of lower highs on the daily chart and a lot of bad sentiment in the short term, and that usually is not the best sign. So we'll have to see how some of these supports hold up over the next couple days.
Yep, and we'll talk more about this in just a minute when we analyze the SPY and its levels. But before we get into that, we have to talk more about the earnings and economic events on the lineup for the week.
Yeah, we definitely do. Tomorrow before open, we'll be seeing a couple of pretty big reports. FCEL and NIO will be reporting. These aren't like necessarily going to make or break the market, but in their own little world, they can have some pretty big movement. In after hours, AVGO will be reporting, and I want to go back to the slick charts really quickly because AVGO is technically in the top 10. It just barely squeaked in down there at the bottom of that list. So just keep that in mind. It will be one of the bigger reports of the week. And then a UiPath is pretty big as well. Of course, Friday we have big lots, but pretty much after Broadcom here, there's not too much. I will say though, DocuSign is another pretty good one there mixed in as well.
Sounds good. And then looking at tomorrow, we do have a couple of economic events, the main one being the ISM Services PMI data that will release 30 minutes after the market opens. And then on Friday, we do have some unemployment and non-farm payrolls data 1 hour before the market opens. So keep these events on your calendar. And besides that, Tom, let's take a deeper look at SPY right now and the important levels to watch going forward.
Yeah, SPY fell down pretty good today, and it consolidated really hard around 550. So really for tomorrow, I really want to see SPY break under 550. It's a pretty major spot. As we can see on the chart, there's been a couple big hits around this 550 mark in the past as well. And I mean, quite a few if we scroll back even further. But if we break under 550, give yourself around 50 cents here. We did hit like 549.50 today, so you might want to see a clear break under that before truly going bearish. Below there, I'll be watching 548 coming up first, 546, and then 544 to the downside as a solid resistance. I'll be watching 555, 557, and then 560 overhead. But overall, I really like that support for tomorrow, Mike. If we see a good breakdown of that, I'll really be watching SQQQ, UVXY, and a lot of put opportunities, that's for sure.
Sounds good. And as we look at SPY, I think it says a lot how the market tried to run up today. It really tried in that first half, but it just got rejected big time. And it just simply shows that there are, a lot of sellers coming in right now. And you can't really, blame the sellers for doing that, especially given how close the market still is to all-time highs and some of the major risks coming up into the market over these next couple months. Of course, there's a lot of fear with the election and things like that as well. But what I think is ultimately more important than anything else right now are these big tech stocks. I know we've been talking about them quite a bit in today's episode, but they're just that important, especially when you have, a stock like Nvidia moving in such a volatile, crazy way like it is now. It's like if you have Nvidia barreling down 8% on the day, that is a big warning sign for the market as a whole. And just like we saw yesterday, it that negative sentiment and momentum also spills over into other big tech stocks, only making the problem worse. So honestly, big tech stocks are the stocks to watch right now. And if they continue to put serious pressure on these lows, it could make for some serious movement in the market in the short term.
Yeah, and if you guys are interested, go ahead and check out TradingView's heat map. I really will say, Mike, the heat map is pretty cool. It shows you which tech stocks are obviously the more important ones there with some nice visualization. Sometimes that's a good way to have a quick view of all of them, right? If you don't have access to, an 8 chart setup or, something like that. And of course, Slick Charts does have some pretty good lists as well that they update quite a bit. But yeah, Mike, these big tech stocks are going to be super important. And one thing that I'm really looking at in the short term is we go to the daily with a lot of them. I mean, there's so many big rejections on these daily charts right now. It's not even funny. The bearish signals are just, screaming right now. And I hate to say it, but it's been such a good year as well that we just have to expect little pullbacks like this along the way. And we did have some earlier in the year and last year as well, where the market did pull back quite a bit. And we did see good recoveries following that. So just remember that there will be some pretty good opportunities over the next few months.
No doubt. All right, Tom, let's get right into some setups and predictions. A stock I'm watching very closely right now is Netflix, and it is to the downside. This stock has a lot of resistance overhead, kind of like what you were just talking about with big tech stocks. The $700 is a crucial psychological level as well. The market is weakening a bit, and I really like the reward to risk with Netflix in the short term. When this stock moves in a momentum-filled way, its options tend to move quite a bit, and even the stock tends to trend pretty consistently. So I would love to see a re-break of like $670 a share. Assuming that happens and the stock actively puts pressure on its low of day, I really like the bearish setup with this one.
Yeah, I really like that 670 support. If I see a good break below there, I'll definitely be watching it down. These tech stocks are turning over quite a bit. And with my first play, I'm talking about a pretty big tech stock as well. And I'm looking at ARM. Looking at them on the daily chart, ARM has actually been taking a pretty big hit over the past few months. I don't know if you guys have noticed that. Maybe this is a bit of a precursor into some of these pullbacks that are going on, but ARM is pulling over once again. If I see another rebreak under 120 for tomorrow, I'll be watching it back down. That was a huge level this morning. We can see that on the Bookmap. Before the market opened, 120 was pretty major. I'm definitely going to be watching that tomorrow. If we rebreak under that, I'll be targeting like this 117 support, and then of course 115 under that will be the main target. If we could get down to 115, that would be a pretty good move and a pretty good break below 120. So as you can see, that's the next major area of support. I love Bookmap, how it lets you see all these levels nice and easy down here.
There we go. Another stock I'm watching pretty closely is BABA, but it is to the upside. Alibaba is like one of those stocks that's just a little bit different from the rest, we can say. Chinese stocks tend to move in what we'll call just different ways. And this is a good thing and a bad thing, because when the U.S. markets are, I guess you could say, uncertain or showing, I guess you could say, warning signs, other areas and other markets can just move independently and offer some nice opportunities. Alibaba is a stock that has been uptrending pretty consistently over the past couple of months, but it's lacking the true bullish momentum and euphoria that it really needs to explosively break out. Since the stock is still not at that point, but it is towards the lower end of its uptrend, I really like the risk reward here, or reward to risk you can say. Looking at BABA, we're getting closer and closer to recent highs, right around $86 a share. And again, it's just closer to the lower end of its uptrend, which presents a nice opportunity. So assuming BABA can start to show some decent bullish price action and maybe get back to that $83.50 area, I really would like the bullish reward to risk with this one.
Yeah, it seems like it's forming a pretty good base over the past couple days as well. Hopefully some of these supports can hold up, and I would love to see the Chinese market provide that nice opportunity if our markets start to pull back a little bit. With my second play, I'm looking at SQQQ again, because I had to throw it back on here, Mike, right? Today wasn't the best day for SQQQ, but then again, we never really saw the market get that true downside momentum that we talked about. We needed to really see that momentum and that big flush come in this morning like we saw yesterday, and that did not happen. We saw a little bit of consolidation, and sometimes following such a large move like we had yesterday, consolidation is natural because, there's obviously a lot of people short who are getting out, taking profits, but then at the same time, there's a lot of people also trying to buy the dip. In the short term, I'm still watching QQQ's big support around 460 to 459. If we break under there, I'll be watching SQQQ back to the upside, and of course, SPY on this 549 support will be major as well.
There we go. All right, so keep a close eye on SQQQ going forward. And besides that, let's jump right into today's momentum plays. And with the first one, we have CrowdStrike to the downside.
Oh no, Mike, not CrowdStrike. Who would have guessed? But if they end up breaking under 258, then watch them down. They've had some bad news lately, and it's been really helping this downtrend continue to develop.
All right, with the next one, we have CVS to the upside, and this one has been pretty brutal over the past couple of years, but it's definitely showing some signs of life now.
Yeah, on a day where the market was, pretty red and mixed and choppy, this was up 3.35%. Definitely not bad, and especially at open, had a great run there. It's sitting right around $59.90 to $60. So I really want to see a clear $60 break on this one tomorrow.
All right, and then with the last one, we have Nvidia for both directions.
Yeah, Nvidia is pretty wild right now. There's a big major support right around 104 to 105. If it starts to break under 104, then watch out for that $100 support. But I'm watching 104 to the downside. And then there's a major resistance overhead at 110 as well. So if it breaks above 110 back to the upside, then be ready for a possible recovery.
All right, so we have the upside level for a potential move higher. We have the downside level for a potential move lower. This is for Nvidia. Don't forget about the upside levels with CVS and the downside levels with CrowdStrike. Either way, these three stocks are on watch for potential day trades tomorrow. If and only if they break through the levels Tom listed, the stronger and more consistent they move, the better the setups become. If they don't break the levels listed, don't force the setups. But besides that, we are all clear for today's $458,000 big money trade. And we are looking at ticker symbol FAST, F-A-S-T. So the big money today put just under $500,000 into the 65 strike put options that expire on September 20th of 2024. So this is a short-term expiration date, and it's a decent-sized big money play where these options are right at the money. Looking at this stock, it has been downtrending basically non-stop since March, and it is getting closer to retesting some recent support levels right around the $62 and $65 levels. Looking at this stock, this setup is definitely riskier than your average big money setup because of how short-term the options expiration is, but at the same time, that added risk also comes with added potential reward. In the event FAST and even the market as a whole continues to flush lower, these put options can do very, very well. But understand that these options will decay quicker than normal big money plays, again, because they expire pretty soon. So I think this is a very interesting setup, and I'll definitely be excited to see how it does.
Yeah, extremely interesting here. It's not every day that we get a big money play with this short of an expiration here. I'm sure this is going to pique a lot of people's interest out there. I will say just be careful of that 65 support. If you wanted to be really safe with this stock, you could maybe wait for 65 to break before entering, especially if you're getting in a little bit late, like many people will be who aren't in the trading floor, right? That's one big perk of the trading floor. You get in on the big money plays on the same day that they are called out. But nonetheless, that's what I'll be kind of looking for over the next couple days. And you're right, this has been turning over pretty hard. And I'll be honest, the way it looks, I wouldn't be surprised if 65 broke. And it would be nice to come down and test that 62 area again. That would be a beautiful flush under 65.
Big time. So good stuff there. And as we just look at the market as a whole and just everything developing right now, it's a very important time to trade in a smart way. Like we talked about quite a bit yesterday, make sure to have a plan before you enter any trade. Make sure to have a stop loss for all setups that you take, and even more importantly, make sure to respect that stop loss, so that way when you place trades, your risk is limited and you could trade based more off of your strategy and logic rather than emotional decisions. The reason we say this now is because there's a lot of opportunities that get presented during times of increased market volatility, which is what we are heading into not only now in the short term, but also into these next couple months as the election gets closer and closer. So again, let's continue to trade in a smart way, follow the money, and use smart, long-term oriented trading habits. If you guys want to learn more about that, check out the StockedUp Discord. We have a bunch of great information listed in the Key Lessons channel where you can learn all about just smart trading habits, and it's accessible to everyone. So definitely check it out. And also, if you guys want to get in on the Stocked Up trading floor, where you get access to our bots, big money trades, weekly live events, which there's one tonight, and access to Tom and myself all day long, as well as all the software you could possibly need for short-term trading, check out that first link in the description in the comments down below. Coupon code 100K will let you claim our 100K subscriber special, which we're going to wrap up very soon. So if you want in, now is the time. We don't do these sales too often. And then, Tom, while you're in the Discord, let's also give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Alex161, who hit it out of the park today with some Dollar Tree put options. So huge shout out to you, Alex, and keep up the great work going forward. We're set for a lot of exciting times and opportunities in the market over these next couple of days and even the next couple of months. So I hope you guys are as excited as we are. If you guys are new to the channel, consider obliterating that subscribe button to get our videos recommended to you more often. We post all the time and cover everything you have to know about the market, and usually like 20 to 25 minutes or less. Sometimes we go a little bit over that, but we cover everything you need. So consider joining the Stocked Up crew. And besides that, thank you all so much for watching, and let's have an amazing day in the market tomorrow.